Okay, good afternoon. So today we'll be seeing about all the project management capabilities using GitHub. So how we can leverage GitHub as part of our day-to-day activities, especially for our project managers and developers who actually contribute on a day-to-day basis. So using project manage. So first of all, what is this project management? So things that we will do using other tools to track the status of our daily activities. So we log in using different tools. So if you are very good aware about Jira, that's again a project management tool where you can go log your issues, log your tasks, define your backlogs, and so forth. Similarly, you can also monitor the same thing using GitHub project management. So using GitHub, you can also create tasks, issues, comment on any of the tasks or issues when your contributors are contributing to it. Define your pull request, create descriptions out of it, and start assigning these tasks or issues where you can mention if there are any external contributors as part of your project status. So with the help of this, we can also label our tasks or issues based on probably the area of the issue that it is being addressed, or the features that we are actually taking it up, or the sprint wise that we actually try to do some deliverables. Similarly, you can also define milestones in that case, where you can add a milestone to track a project so that as part of a larger goal, so you can complete it, like probably a quarterly to-do list or something like you're doing a big feature and you want to know what is the completion rate of your milestone and so forth. So you can also watch your milestones overall progress. So by using the milestones field. So we'll be diving into all of these in action in a couple of minutes. So you can also track your updates to your project without complicating the workflow. So you can link your issues and pull requests. So to have a complete traceability when you're actually working with, probably you might be doing a bug fix and you're raising a request so that this addresses the issue that was created by your user or by your contributor. Accordingly, you can cross-link between these issues and pull requests. So as and when there are changes happening, so you can also automatically have the transparency between the issues that got created, that got closed, and what are the pull request changes that are affected as part of your issue. So you can also associate an issue along with the pull request so that whenever you close the pull request, an issue automatically gets closed. So you can also visualize all the work that your team is actually contributing to, so that how your project is being tracked. So you can use project boards that is there on GitHub, so that will help you to organize and prioritize your work. So you can create these boards for specific features, for comprehensive roadmaps, or even for your release checklist. So if you have some checklist that you want to do it before releasing your binary, so you can also use this project boards in order to customize your workflow so that will suit your needs. So this is how a project board look like. So if you observe, we have all the backlog items that are there in the first column where you log your backlog and start taking it up as and when the sprints are appearing. Accordingly, you can also track how many cards or how many tasks that are there in progress. So if people are actually taking it up or owning it up as part of their daily activities, so the status accordingly changes that is there on your project dashboard. So with project boards, they're also made up of issues, pull requests, and notes. So if you want to have any note aspects before defining the work, you can also add that and categorize that as a card so that you can have a dedicated column when you're actually tracking as part of this project. So this project codes, it also has some relevant metadata, for example, like issues and pull requests, wherein you'll be attaching these labels and assigning the status as to who opened it, who closed it. So you can also make a view and highlight this edit so that the issues and pull requests that are there within the project board can be clicked with the help of this pull request title. So you can also create these notes within these columns, so that will help you serve as a task reminder or probably reference to an issue that you're actually working with, or a pull request that is already created and you're waiting for review from any of your other external reviewers. So you can also add additional information related to the project that is there on your project board. So any card that you create on the project board can automatically be converted into an issue. So we'll also see how we can do that, how we can add a note, how do we convert a card into an issue, how can you track that, and so forth. So if you want to have an extended integration with the tools that you're already working with, yes, GitHub supports most of the project management process tools that you can integrate with and start working with. So the common ones are Code3, Sail, the ones that are there displayed. And many of you have already experienced working with Azure boards. Now that you can also link your Azure board, now that you can also integrate your Azure boards along with the GitHub repo, so that if you want to go and update any of your tasks or work items, you can straight away do it right from your GitHub. So that automatically these changes would be reflecting back in your backlogs that are there on your Azure boards. So not only these tools, so there are other tools. Only to name a few I have put out. So next, how do we manage the team? So as part of your project management, teams are also very important. As and when your teams are increasing, it's our responsibility to manage and grow along with the team. So how do we manage and grow? So you can also add members and maintain it right within the repository that you're actually working with, so that you can have your conversations on topic for every PR or for every issue that you're tracking or that you're actually updating and working along with it. And also you can set these community guidelines as and when you're managing the team, saying that if there are any new contributors to the team added, so he'll have to go through all these guidelines even before getting started. It might be anything with respect to the coding that you're actually setting up the guideline, or with respect to the version controlling that you're setting up the guideline. For example, how one should follow the end-to-end development workflow. So what are the guidelines in order to go and have a branching and merging workflow? This is just an example to name how you can set these guidelines. So if you have any open source contributions coming into your project, you can also set the community guidelines saying that, hey, if people are outside the organization, they have to follow these XYZ in order to have their contributions merged to the project that they are actually working. So not only with that, you can also code and document alongside within your same repository. So there are millions of repositories out there on the GitHub, which is already equipped with all the right tools that is required to help you host, version, and release the code, and also alongside documentation. Documentation becomes a very painful process at the end of the day. When you don't have a proper documentation, then it's difficult for the users or contributors to actually get started with your project. So you can also start creating these these documents can be internal or external. So we have something called GitHub pages. So, and we also have something called GitHub wiki, where you can post these documents internally or externally and set these access levels as and when you're coding. So the documents can supports markdown. So if you are very good in markdown, then you can reuse the documents that are already there. So GitHub Pages uses something called a JKIL. That's a static site generator where you can publish your documentations and make it live, so without even having any complexity. So let us see what all you can do as part of the project management. I don't have much to show on the presentation slide. So let me share. Okay. I hope you are able to see my screen. So I have already logged into my GitHub account. So if you are new to the GitHub, all you have to do is just go to github.com, sign up, and you'll have your repositories and account created for you. So you can come here and start creating your new repositories if you are very new to this system or to this service. Or if you already have an existing repository for which you would like to use it, you can always go and use that. So I already have one repository with the name pipelines.net for Docker. So this is the repository where we would like to try and track the status of the project as to how it is going on. So if you see, you have something called projects when you dive into your repository. So this is my repository that is there in the GitHub, and this is the project that I see where you can actually go and start creating and tracking the status of each and every individual activity. So all you have to do is you have to go and create a project first, so which I have already done. And if you see here, I have a couple of columns where I have already defined some set of work that I have to go and start with. For example, I come here and define all the backlogs, say that I would like to set up a Docker pipeline. Say this is how you define your backlog, and this is treated as a card as and when you go and create here. So I would also say that deployment pipeline to Azure. So you can define your work, define your backlogs. So once you define your backlogs, then you have all these different columns that you would like to customize as part of the work. So in my case, I already have backlogs as one of the columns, in progress being one, and ready to deploy, which means that any cards that are there in this column, which means that they are ready to go and deploy to my target server. Similarly, those cards or those action items that are already done will be listed in your done state. So here I have a set of backlogs. I would go and edit this and create or define more information as to what this action is about to do. So when I say set up a Docker pipeline, if you're confused, I would like to say that, hey, use GitHub actions to create the workflow. Something like this, you can define it, create a note out of it. And this will be available as part of your backlog. So I can convert this, if this is an issue, I can convert this into an issue, or I can copy this card link and straight away share it to my team members so that anybody who is responsible for working on this particular task or backlog, they will take up and start working with it. Similarly, you can move cards from one state to another state, from one column to another column, define it. And if you are wondering how can I define all these checklists when you are creating your backlogs or tasks, they are nothing but some markdown stylings. So if you are well averse with markdown, so you have something called GitHub flavored markdown. Using that, you can define all these checklists or status in order to go and have this kind of view for your cards. So once these cards are created, so you can actually go and start contributing to this, and all your issues will be tracked from this issue section. So when you are creating your repository for the first time, many of or most of the people will not be able to see this issue tab. That's because you'll have to go and enable that from your repository settings. So if we come down here and see that, hey, go and enable issues so that people can actually go and create an issue if they're unable to follow the guideline or whatever. So from there, if you enable the issue, then only you'll be able to see and track all the issues that your repository would be having. So with the issues, you also get these labels so to track and how the issues can be addressed, whether it's a bug or a document related issue, or if it's a duplicate, or it requires any enhancement as part of your project. So depending on the scope of your issue, you can accordingly label your issue and set the milestone. So you can also see that, hey, you have some milestone. So I have a milestone release one, and it has a due date by April 2nd. So I have to achieve. So you can see that a couple of work has been completed, and the reason you're seeing that 50% of it is complete, I have still one open and one closed. So if I go and see what is that one issue, so you can see that I have to go and complete this issue. So I have created this issue right in my repository so that I want to have an end-to-end implementation for this repository using all the CI/CD best practices. So as part of this issue, you can see who can be the assignees. You can have more than one assignee for this, and you can also see what labels this issue belongs to. So if this is a bug, you can also identify this and add a label as a bug, or you need some information that you're requesting out as part of an issue, that you can also track it out. So you can actually go and control how you want to deal with the labels along with your issues. And you can see that this issue is being tracked as part of this project. I don't have more than one project, and that's the reason you can see I have only one project that is listed out here, and I have linked this issue as part of this project. And also the milestone, if you have more than one milestone that you have defined, you can see here I have linked my milestone as well. Now, we are also seeing that how do we link these issues and along with that pull request that we are actually working with. So you can also come here and define your PRs and link the issue along with the pull request, so that whenever you go and merge this pull request for the suggested changes, your issue automatically gets closed. So to do that, let us go and see how the creation of pull request experience, and also how you can define all these texts so that whenever you have these contributors coming into the picture, how you'll be able to go and track it. So now I'll come back to my pull request. I'll try to create first let us go and modify something in our branch. So I am right now in my master branch. So I'd like to change my branch to my playground, because I don't want to pollute my master branch by making unnecessary commits or changes. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is, let us try to add a contributor guideline. So we all were saying that, hey, what do you mean by contributor guideline, and how did we end up, how one can use this as a text, so that whenever you're trying to create a PR or create an issue, how this will help for the users so that they won't have any wrong contributions done to the repository. So I would come here and create a new file. So I would name this as contributing. Okay, so here I have some sort of contributor guidelines, something like okay. So we'll add here, and I'll name this as contributor guidelines. So this is how you actually work with Markdown. So if you see that, if you're good at HTML, it's like if you're using header one tag, so we use one hash key in Markdown. So this is how your Markdown looks like. So you can define your contributor guideline so that as and when people are working, so you'll be able to see how they can leverage to contribute to your repository. So with this contributor guidelines, I could also add something like code of conduct, because I don't want unwanted contributors or unnecessary irrelevant changes flowing into my repository. So let us see how we can add this. So I have some default contribution guidelines over here. Let me see how we can do this. Okay, something like this I would like to define. And code of conduct. So we should also add something code of conduct. Okay. So I think this should be enough for us to have some contributor guidelines. What else can we add? So yeah, some style guidelines. So when we are doing some commits to the repository, I want some contributors to follow some set of guidelines. I don't want coming into this. So yeah. So these are my set of style guidelines. I will be using it. Hey, yeah, we don't have it here. Okay. So I have added my contributor guidelines file over here with some set of rules that I want contributors to follow. Let me go and comment this branch saying that, okay, I already have some message adding contributors guidelines. I'll commit this. So when I commit this, you can see I automatically have committed this file to my playground branch. So where can I see? You can see here I have this now. So now when we try creating this pull request, so we can see how we can associate these issues or the tasks. So you can see here now, automatically when there's a modification or a commit happening on your working branch, so the system will automatically gives you a notification or an alert saying that, hey, there's a new change coming into this branch. Would you like to go and create a pull request? Let us try to go and create one. So that's how we can actually go and track this. So since I've forked this repository from Microsoft Docs, you can see that the moment I create a PR, it automatically takes to the base repo, but I'm not interested in that. We have some changes coming in from the playground branch to the master branch, and I would like to. So I can add reviewers. I can add more than one reviewers who will be part of this change. I don't have anybody, so that I'll assign this to myself now. And I can also label this saying that, hey, I have added something over here, and I'm also labeling it with enhancement, something that we have enhanced by adding some contributor guidelines. And this is tagging to the project object code. I have a milestone. This is how you would link this. And yes, if you also want to link any issues, you can also link it. So let us create a PR first. And also, let me create this first and then come back to that. So the moment I created, so say that adding contributor guidelines. So I've modified my pull request so that people will be aware as to what this PR is doing and so on. You can see that as and when I go and create a PR, I can actually go and link my issue. So I will go and link this. You can see that the moment I added this, you can see it automatically linked as part of this particular pull request. So when I merge this pull request to the branch that I'm actually looking out for, automatically an issue also would be closed. So let us go and try to merge this PR, assuming that everything is meeting the needs. So when I confirm the merge, you can see that the pull request was automatically merged and the issue was closed. So let us try to refresh. We should not see there any issues, right? So you can see here when you go to the issues tab and when you open the issue that got completed just now, you can see the associated pull request as part of this issue. So in this way, you can link your issues and pull requests so that you get the bidirectional traceability as to how the issues are being addressed with the relevant PRs that is flowing into your repository. So now I can actually go and click on this link. So that gives me a completed PR, says that, hey, you just now merged from this branch to this branch, and would you like to delete your branch? Let it be. I don't want to delete that access. And this way you can also go and tag your work and monitor it. So I come back to my project, go and see it here, and see what was the activities that was done when you're doing with your project. So this way you can go and track. And so we were also talking about the documentation part that will be taken care as and when you have your coding done manually. So Wiki is the place where you would be hosting all your documents. So you can see here, I have created a page already. So this is the home page. So you can also come here and create accordingly and use this tab to go and create your documents. So in this case, I have created a documentation for version control guideline. So people who are contributors or who would like to contribute to this particular repository, they have to go and follow this. So this is a wiki link. You can see that it has a detailed list of guidelines as to how one should work with this particular repository, and accordingly you will be able to go and create your document and share. Now, so we just saw how you can create a project, how you can manage all your cards and work, or your issues being created, how you can link an issue to your pull request, how you can assign your members or mention by using @ and so forth. So you can also see how many contributors are there as part of this particular project. So if you want to go and see and manage those contributors, you can come here to manage access and define actually how you want to invite or have these collaborations. So you can see that I can come here and invite people over here if I have their usernames or email IDs for which they would like to have contributions done. Accordingly, you can manage these people and have these contributions taken. Now, if you want to have this integration with any one of your other tool that you would be already using as part of your project management, you can also do that. So in order to do that, first we'll see how we can integrate our Azure DevOps as part of our GitHub, so that you can use Azure boards to track your work and also monitor right from the GitHub. So to do that, we have to go to the marketplace, search for the boards. You see, we have something called Azure boards. So you have to go to your Azure boards and you'll have to configure it. So since I have already configured, so you'll be seeing the configure tab over here. It asks whether you want to configure this for all the repositories or only for the selected ones. Since I want for all of my repositories, I'll just go ahead and say that, hey, go ahead and just select all the repositories. The moment you do that, it will automatically ask you, hey, which account would you like to go and configure this with? So I would say that, hey, I have my Azure DevOps account and the selected one. And you can see that whether you want to integrate this to your existing organization or you want to go and create a new one. So let us go and integrate for an existing organization and a project. So I can have list of projects over here that I would like to integrate with this. Let me click on continue. So it should take me to my Azure boards. So you can see that I already have a connection established from my GitHub account to my Azure DevOps. So that's the reason you will be able to see that, hey, you have a GitHub connection made already from your GitHub repository to your Azure. So now let us close this and get back to our backlogs. So this is where I use my Azure boards to track all of my backlogs. So if you see here, I have many columns like new, approved, committed, and done. And as and when things are working, I'll be able to go and take it up. So let us see how we can integrate that. Integration of boards and GitHub. You can see that I have an ID generated over here. So that the ID over there is 9118. So I'll just go back to my GitHub. So if I would like to go and link that and track, so that anytime, any number of times you can create pull requests, any number of times you can tag that, so that you have a way to do that. So I come back here, go back to my branch, modify something. Probably this time I would like to modify my README file. I would say creation of Azure boards and GitHub. Okay, so let us commit this. Okay, now we have something. We have modified some file. So I would like to go and create a new PR so that I can actually go and address